Hello there. My name's Amy Collins, and I'm hosting this Hack the Box Road from Technical Pro to CISO panel. I'm really excited to be with you today. We've got three amazing CISOs here to talk to you and talk amongst each other. And yeah, over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to be dipping into real life stories to help you take your career to the next step. So these CISOs have come from technical backgrounds and have been able to go on this journey to get into this exciting role. And so we're going to be digging into how they got there. But probably the best thing to do is for me to hand over and let them introduce themselves. Timothy, Kenton, and Christoph. I'd love to hear a bit from each of you about who you are, what your role is, and how you got started on this journey. How did you get to where you are now? So maybe Timothy, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Yes, of course, no problem. So thank you for having me during this panel. I'm Timothy Martens. I'm working now almost 13 years in cybersecurity, so quite an intensive career. I'm from Belgium, so I started my career actually as a police officer, where I had a focus on cybersecurity. And then after 6 years, I decided to go to the private sector, and then I worked immediately as a CISO for a lot of different large international companies. I am a freelance CISO, which I do for several customers on a board level. So that's a little bit an introduction of myself. Apart from work, I have two beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife, so I cannot complain in life.
Sounds awesome. Kenton, maybe you go next.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Kenton McDaniel. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for a large international software company. I started out my career in technical support, so inbound phone desk. Then I started getting interested in programming, worked for a couple of years as a developer, then a development manager. And for the last 5 years, been the Chief Information Security Officer after a 6-year stint doing penetration testing and red teaming. So I've got a lot of tech experience. I've been working for 22 years with a tech background now. Excited to be here too. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Christoph Fulham. I started my career in help desk, similar to Kenton, worked my way up across the industry. Interestingly, I'm also have heritage from Belgium, but I grew up in the Caribbean and lived in the States most of my life, working my way up and eventually becoming a freelance or fractional CISO as I do right now.
Awesome, thank you. That was really great. What we've got is a couple of focus areas we're going to dive in on, spend a few minutes on each one. You've all given us a bit of a clue as to the journey you've been on with regard to sort of moving from technical focus to more being a CISO. Could you talk a little bit to some of the communication skills that you've had to build up in terms of how you've gone from being predominantly technically focused to some of the communication skills you've had to acquire for talking to leadership, talking to the board, those kinds of things, which of course are pivotal to that, and how you've got an opportunity to learn and develop those skills as well. Maybe we could start with you, Chris, and then that's somebody else.
My experience,
somebody else got something that they want to.
Yeah, my experience really came from stepping up to take the opportunity. So even when I was in help desk, I offered to be the help desk person assigned to the CEO and quickly understood that talking in technical jargon didn't help me communicate with him. So I had to understand how to communicate in the form of the business. As I continued my career, I learned to talk with different professionals across the different lines of business, marketing, HR, finance, and each of them have a different language that you need to learn to be able to communicate in. So I would say growing in your leadership skills, you really have to understand the audience that you're talking to, the things that are important to them, and then how you can translate the technical risk that you see from cybersecurity into a business risk that affects them and makes them more engaged into solving the problem.
Yeah, I'll chime in next. That's a fantastic answer. I learned the same kind of thing. I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of different groups inside of businesses, and I learned to start asking them questions about what mattered to them. Trying to understand their motivations helped me understand how I could speak risk in their language, and how I could translate that risk down to real dollar value. So I'm in the United States, so for us, it's dollar value, right? So does this dollar value make sense for us to address the risk that we're seeing here, or is it a business acceptable risk? And one of the skills I had to learn was letting go of risk. When I was technical, I remember every exploit I could find, every vulnerability, everything matters. And they always still matter, but there's a certain level of business acceptable risk that you have to be able to deal with. And you say, okay, what's the business acceptable risk here? So changing my mindset from, by the way, I still love hacking things all the time, but changing my mindset from hacking things all the time to the things that I've hacked, what's the business acceptable risk and how do I communicate that to stakeholders in dollars? Because at the end of the day, most businesses are in it to make money. And so you want to speak that language to them that really matters.
Already some really great answers from my colleagues here, and it's really resonates with myself also, because when I jumped from a police officer role to being a CISO in a well-known company here in Belgium, I was only 26 years old. So communication skills was for me a very big part of my learning process, because when I started that CISO role at 26 years old, I was immediately part of the general management board of the company. So I needed to become from a boy a man. And so I developed a little bit my own principles, which I also can share with you today, but you will recognize some of them in what you already told. So the first thing I always think about is understand what the board cares about. And that's the first thing which always comes to mind. So on a board level, they think about different things. They think about financial impact. They think about a lot of more business impact. So you need to be able to really understand what they want to hear. And of course, you need to then speak their language. I also heard it from you just before, Kenton, that you need to speak the language of the business. On the board level is the same. They also talk in a different way than you're used to. So you need to really have that maturity, that presence on the board level to be able to get the message out there and to get their buy-in. And how do you do that? You can ask the right questions. So it's really needed that you also ask questions to them, to what is their perspective, what is their risk acceptance level, how far do they want to go with their security program. These are all things that you need to understand before you can start communicating about those risks. And then last but not least, I always say, embrace the power of I told you so, which I mean that if something happens, tell them I told you so, but in a constructive way. Don't put the blame finger on, but learn from it. That's the most important information that I can share with regards to my own process that I made on a communication level and my maturity presence on the board.
If possible, can I tie in two things that I heard? I think that I told you so and the acceptable business risk. It's not for us to decide on that, but it's for the business to decide on that. So when you find that acceptable business risk, you have them sign off as a risk acceptance, and then that's where that I told you so comes into play, because then you go, well, this was a risk that you accepted, and here was a risk acceptance that you did for that.
Yeah, interesting. I'd love to do a quick just follow-on question actually to all three of you or anybody that wants to pick it up. Like, how did you go about getting exposure to build up the communication skills? And we talked about, for example, Kenton and Timothy, you talked about asking questions and getting curious. but I think about the stuff in my career, like I didn't get enough. You know, it's quite difficult to get the exposure of the people to ask the questions to then bootstrap yourself up and to, to create that positive feedback cycle. So I'm just thinking about anybody that's watching this that's just starting out and they're feeling frustrated that they want to go ahead and do that and ask those questions. What would be your advice in terms of getting that exposure to be able to start asking questions?
So in my experience, what I had to do was start taking responsibility for things that were inside of my sphere of influence, but then also involving people in a partnership in that. So when I was doing penetration testing and red teaming, I'd go to legal and I'd say, hey, here's everything in scope, right? How do you feel about this scope? And legal was like, awesome, I'd love to be involved in scope setting, right? And finance love to be involved more to know about those things. So pulling them into the scope of work that I had helped a lot to get that, to start to get that influence, start to get those relationships built. Finding ways that I can involve other departments in the things I was already doing. Not in a I'm managing you way, in more of a please help me accomplish this task for the business way.
If I look to myself, what I can share about that is how I really made my communication skills better was twofold. On the first side, I learned a lot about watching videos of famous people like Simon Sinek, reading books, even a simple book, The Art of War. Almost everybody knows it, but you can learn a lot of it. And as a young guy, I tried to implement those principles in the business world, grow confidence, but also show up as the best version I can every day. So I was the first guy coming in. I was always wearing nice clothes, confident, being being the one social, speaking to people, building bridges, making sure I was on time on meetings, making sure I was prepared. So I always stepped up the next level just to show them I'm here. I'm taking this serious. So that's really what works. What did work for me to become the young leader as I am still today, because I'm still only 33 years old. But it helped me a lot in my career to really show them, okay, I'm young, but I can step up my game if I need to.
Yeah, I just actually want to pick into that 1 second before I hand across to you, Chris. I mean, like the nice clothes and the professionalism turning into meetings, that feels like advice from grandparents would have given me when I took my first job. And it's quite interesting, it's still true today. Just before we move on to Chris, one of the things I'd love to hear is like you mentioned you got sort of you got the step up at 26. Did you encounter any challenges as a result of being sort of relatively young in the role that you could talk to?
I think the question was meant for Chris, or was it for me? Because I did not.
Yeah, so let me repeat. Just Timothy, as you mentioned a couple of times, you managed to get your step up quite early. I was wondering if that early rise has caused you any challenges, with throughout your career.
Oh yeah, many challenges, because they don't take you seriously. Yeah? That's why it's really important to do those little things. One of the easiest examples that I can share is your phone. When I go to a meeting, I put my phone away. You have a lot of people who lay the phone on the table and watch it and doing emails, just a form of respect. So that's the first thing I did when I went to a meeting. I listened and I tried to speak last. I hear that also from people like Simon Sinek, and they say it like it's easy, but it's something you need to focus on. And if you do those little things, people will take you more serious. They will say, okay, he's some guy who really wants to put the effort in. Maybe you should listen to him. He has something to say. And for me, it's all about the little things. But of course, you have challenges. In the beginning, they said, "Oh, such a young guy and a general management board. What are you doing there? And why should we listen to you? And you think you can make the company in 1 year more safe? Things like that." But when you have more success stories, your confidence grows, and people tend to respect you more. So that's my personal experience that I had in the world. It's tough, but if you put some effort in and you know what you're talking about, because you need to have the knowledge and the presence, then you can be successful if you show them the right way to do so.
Awesome, thank you. And Chris, do you have anything to add to this? in terms of how to gain the communication skills, if you're not getting a lot of exposure early on in your career?
Yeah, so one of the things that I always did was network, network, network. And I would choose not to be the smartest person in the room. So network with more experienced security individuals, learn from their experiences. And there's others that call this cheap experience because you're not learning those lessons through fumbling yourself, but you're learning those experiences from someone else. The second thing that I did is I learned to do a lot of public speaking so that I was recognized in the community. I was sought as someone that did have the experience that could talk to those things. And then I created ways to give back. And when you continuously give back, you're learning by retranslating your experiences into a manner that someone can understand. And that then helps you reinforce that learning within yourself.
Yeah, awesome. I really liked the give back point and also the sort of public speaking thing. That seemed to quite build on, things like the continuous learning around, researching, Simon Sinek and all that kind of stuff as well. So I'm seeing some overlap here. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the second topic, and it's sort of slightly overlapping topic. And the question is, actually, this one came from the audience. That if I'm working as a penetration tester today, what would be my best route to becoming a CISO? And maybe Timothy, you could start.
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking Kristen would be the perfect one for that. He came up that route.
Yeah, so I would say your best opportunity would be to look for either places in your business where you can start to take on the risk management role, or look for businesses that need a risk management role. So take that deep technical penetration testing experience that you have, start learning the risk management portion of it. Because once you combine those two skill sets, then you can get a comprehensive view of the risk. It's in risk management is more than just vulnerability management, right? So knowing how to hack the planet is amazing. Knowing how to assess the risk from each of those things accurately to a business is what really starts the translation to becoming an executive within a business. So I would say look for businesses that need it, small to medium-sized businesses that need that kind of experience and expertise, and volunteer. I mean, I know time is a finite resource, right? We all wish we had more time, but volunteer to give your opinions. Say, hey, I can give you 3 to 4 hours a week and I can help you with this. You're a small business, you need the help because most small businesses are way under-resourced and staffed. So look for opportunities to couple your risk management with your deep technical skills and then start speaking that language and people will notice, right? As soon as you start speaking in the language of risk management, people notice that, hey, maybe this is something we should be doing and someone we should involve in this process.
Yeah, awesome. I love that introduction of like ambition there to go and just almost entrepreneurial, get out there and go and start volunteering and yeah, it was it's quite inspiring. Timothy, Chris, do you have anything to advise to somebody who might be a penetration tester today or?
Well, actually, I wanted to become a penetration tester myself in the early days of my career. So I studied certified ethical hacker also, which I passed. And it was my intention to become a hacker. So a lot of people start like that. But then I got the opportunity to take on the CISO role. And I was grateful because I still had a mentor who was working there who I would be replacing. And that worked for me because if you start in an ISO information security officer role, expert role, you can use still your technical skills to do some penetration testing yourself, show what you're worth, and also have a mentor which you can learn the other side from. So that really worked for me. So the both side that I could still do my own thing. So I did a little bit of penetration testing when I was in that type of role. And then I started to learn how they went to the board, which metrics he presented, my mentor then. which were the things he was thought about, like the risk management part, which Kenton just shared. And that worked for me. Having a mentor and doing your own thing still until you're able to say, okay, I want to do this or this, because the combination is difficult if you're looking at the CISO role, of course. So at the point you need to take a decision, but you still have time to learn everything and to also find your pleasure in what you're still doing as a penetration tester.
Awesome. Maybe we need to do another one of these panels next week, which is how to go from a CISO to a penetration tester.
I would add in that there's many routes that you can take. So the U.S. government NIST NICE Workforce Development Framework has a plethora of different paths you can take. But what I would say, for example, just two paths you can use. One, you can go down the engineering route, where you're helping organizations create more resilient engineering infrastructure and help them understand what a threat actor would do and how to design resilient solutions for that. The second route is you can go down the SOC operations route, where now you're looking for the telltale signs that a threat actor would leave behind as you're trying to get into an organization. And then you can better help the SOC team find those alerts, create better alerting mechanisms, and be able to respond and mitigate those threats in a faster manner.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all three. That was really amazing advice. I'm writing it all down here, trying to do some to the end, but I'm going to make a lot of notes. Very, very cool stuff. So just thinking about, we've talked a little bit about solutions for breaking in. Before we sort of drill into technical skills that CISOs need, maybe you could just perhaps talk about your current challenges that you're currently facing. I think that would be quite interesting. Maybe you want to go first?
So for me, some of the challenges that I'm facing or that I help my customers face really is evolving around the use of artificial intelligence. Everyone sees the hype of artificial intelligence, but they don't really understand what's happening behind the scenes of artificial intelligence. What organizational data is needed to produce these outcomes that you're looking to do, and how is this data being processed by the models or by the service providers that are using the models. And this risk is often way overlooked with regards to where the data is going, what's happening with the data, and how they can secure it in a good way. So I'm helping them create artificial intelligence guardrails and architectural systems that allow them to better process the data needed for artificial intelligence.
Awesome. And would you say that AI skills are, like on this list of things, this advice that people should be leveling up on, at the start of their careers? We hear it all the time. It sounds like that's one of the key skills that you would advise aspiring CISOs to go and start to learn about.
I would say before going to AI skills, you want to start lower in the pecking order. You want to understand things like data governance and identity and access management, because really anything in the cloud is data. In order to access that data, you need to have identity and access management in place for machines, for services, for people to access that data. And that's the best way to secure it. So if you're coming up, you want to better understand the data governance and the identity and access management that goes around controlling the flow of data within an organization.
Super interesting. Kenton, do you have anything to say on your current challenges?
Yeah, so one of my biggest current challenges is I would say emerging technologies. So finding the time to be able to understand emerging technology just at scale and being able to render opinions quickly. And so I look to content creators that I trust. I look to platforms that I trust, and I'm going to plug Hack the Box as being a platform that I trust. I use it a lot. And I'm going to plug IPSec because he's my favorite content creator. So I look to these trusted content creators to help me quickly keep up to date on emerging technology and quickly be able to understand things, because I've got a lot of technical knowledge, but I don't immediately understand everything that's new. And so I have to take that time to research. And I would say the most important skill, most important technical skill I would say anyone needs to be a successful anything, CISO, whatever, is the ability to learn how to research effectively. Effective research is key to being able to keep on top of everything. You've got questions coming at you from everywhere. You got to be able to say, yeah, I've heard about that, but then also feel comfortable saying, I don't know, let me find out. Because it's okay not to know. There's this pressure on you as a cybersecurity leader to immediately have an answer or an opinion. It's okay to say, I have absolutely no clue, let me get back to you. And give realistic timelines for when you can get back to them. But that's a hard thing sometimes, right? Feeling like you have to delay that answer because you want to provide that value immediately. So that's my biggest challenge, is keeping on top of that kind of stuff.
That's awesome advice, actually. Just having the confidence to pause. Timothy.
Yeah, I will try not to repeat my colleagues here, because everything they encounter, I also feel the same pain. So yeah, we have a lot of challenges as a CISO. The one that I'm thinking about that I can add as an extra layer is the operational technology side. Everybody's talking about cybersecurity is an IT issue. It was like that in the past, and now you see that a lot of manufacturing companies are getting targeted. They take over machines. If you do an attack on a manufacturing company, that machine, the production machine, can burn, can explode. So you can have a lot of impact. And it's really a high trend that we see these days. And a lot of manufacturing companies are not prepared. So that's something I also working in every day at the customer that I'm CISO now, is finding the balance between the IT side and the OT side, making sure that both environments are separated from each other to begin, and getting them at the same level, because a lot of CISOs are forgetting there's still another side of cybersecurity. And if you forget that side, they can also get into your company and do a lot of damage. So that's the part that I can add as my main challenge, because I fight with it every day.
Okay, brilliant. We're going to do.
Can I add on to that, Timothy? Microsegmentation is a really important concept when you're working with OT and IT in the same environment. So as much as we try to keep them separate, there will be a convergence, and using microsegmentation as a strategy in that convergence zone is one of the upcoming things that a lot of people forget that they can do.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for adding. It's a challenge, because the environments are not prepared. You cannot just say we will patch a production machine and do it right immediately. No, the production will stop. So you need to think about a lot of things, and that's why the microsegmentation is very important, and also very simple to start with. Know what's there. Know the assets on your environment. That's the main thing that you need to tackle if you have an OT environment, because if you start with that, you will see that a lot of companies are not able to just give you a list of all their OT devices. So a lot of challenges, like I mentioned already.
Yeah, I feel we could do a whole panel just on microsegmentation alone, probably. Lots of thoughts in them. We're going to do a few rapid fire questions, so keep these answers relatively short. We've got a couple from the audience. So, first one is, what's the most challenging or stressful part of being CISO?
Keeping up with the news, keeping up with the latest threat actors, and being able to create risk mitigation strategies on the fly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Keeping up, also making sure, so balancing budget, vendor needs, and emerging technologies. So it's important to understand the financial part of the business too, right? So it's stressful to balance all of those things in a way to create effective risk mitigation.
For me, of course, a little bit in the same style like my colleagues just said, but finding the balance also with your private life and your work life, because they expect a lot of you. You need to guide them through an incident. You need to make sure that the risks are being held under control. Even if you're not the one who should be held accountable, they will look at you. So you need to keep a lot of balls in the air and make sure that you still survive every week. So finding the balance between getting there on your job when they need to, and also find some time to spend time with your family and do other stuff. That's really stressful for me, because I noticed this already in the past. There was something wrong with one of my daughters who needed to go to the hospital, and we had a severe incident. So how do you keep up with those two? So if you then look, you have a team which you can trust on, you have procedures they can follow, you will sleep a lot better. So that's also something I can share with the audience. Is if you're trying to find a balance, make sure that you're not alone in it. And I know with smaller companies it's difficult, but have people who you can trust, who you can inform, so you can sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how like org structure is one of the things that can really help with burnout, stress, and work-life balance, certainly. Okay, next rapid fire question. What made you decide to become a CISO? Were you inspired by somebody? And we're going to start this one with Kenton.
So I decided that I wanted to be able to guide decision making. And so I looked at that and said, okay, how can I be in the best position to guide decision making? And I said, okay, it's going to be me involved in risk management. And then I was like, you know what? I enjoy this just as much as I enjoy the technical part. I would like to be a chief information security officer so that I can do this throughout the company, and then also have more opportunities just outside of the company, right? Through partnering with other companies and partnering with other people. Being able to guide that discussion is something I really enjoy. I enjoy taking ownership, and I enjoy driving things to fulfillment. So that's something I really like. That's what made me become a CISO. And so many mentors have helped me through this process. So many wonderful people have helped me round out my skill set. There's too many to name. I'm involved in a lot of Discord communities. So shout out to everyone in those Discord communities for helping me round out my skill set, and they've helped me be the leader that I can be.
Timothy?
Well, I never imagined I would be a CISO. So I worked as a police officer, and then I said, well, I love to protect people. Cybersecurity is also protecting companies. Maybe that's something for me. And then, of course, I was young and ambitious. I said, yeah, I want to be the best leader as I can. And that part, and then the CISO role was the next big thing, to just make an impact, to really help the company. Of course, you can do a lot of things when you're an expert or an ISO, and you also contribute. But when you're on the CISO position, you have everything in your own hands. You can really make an impact on a company. And if you start most of the time, when I started a company who has a lower maturity, in 1 or 2 years, you can really guide them already to a next level, and that's so fulfilling. That makes me want to stay in the CISO role. And now I'm at the point of career. That's why I'm also here in the panel. Is spreading the word, helping people, helping young ambitious people to do the same, giving something back to the community. So it's really following your own path and doing what you want to do. And there's a lot of opportunities in cybersecurity. If you want to be a CISO or something else, I think you will find your own path if you want to.
For me, it was really about controlling and helping the business to enable themselves through the use of technology in a safe manner. Because that started in my help desk days. How can I help them use technology in a safer manner? And as that grew, it grew from the desktop to the infrastructure to the cloud, and the evolution continues. So I really just like helping enable them to use the new latest technology in the safest manner possible.
Awesome. I think we're just about at time now. So I just want to summarize a couple of things I heard, which I think could be useful practical first steps to people. Quite early on, we heard about, like, one of the tips was understand what the board cares about, speak their language, and ask the right questions. And those things really stuck out as being like truisms that I heard from a couple of people. Kenton, you talked about cross-functional working, so I thought it was genius. In terms of like, if you're doing penetration testing, reach out and finding for the legal and stuff. And I think that's really good advice for somebody who's quite early on has limited ability to go and, you know, get those opportunities. So that was awesome. I really like the bit about professionalism. It's actually I heard from a few of you in different ways, but you know, just that thing from you, Timothy, about just like put the hoodie away and you know, put on some nice clothes and put the phone away and turn the meetings on time. Just be shown to be a professional, dependable person. I really like that as well. All of you cited things about learning, you know, effective research being the most important skill, you know, rather than learning about technical risk, learn about risk management, cynic networking, public speaking, all of that stuff, like really, really powerful stuff there. And I think that continuous learning, continuous curiosity has been very prevalent in everything you've said. And I really like the stuff you were talking about, Chris, with regards to giving back. So, you know, volunteer, give opinions. I think Kenton, you touched on that as well. So that was awesome. I think those are the big highlights I took out of it in terms of advice, practical advice on how to get started on that road to CISO. Would any of you quick final thought? Anything you want to add? 15 seconds each. Anybody before we say goodbye?
Let me start with understand how the business makes money. Your best way to get to a really good role is understanding how they make money and helping them secure that.
That's great advice. I would echo that, and I would say find things that you're passionate about to help you avoid the burnout, and the work-life balance is key, like Tim was saying. Yeah.
My closing note would be something I already mentioned is don't forget about the little things. It's something that's proved a lot of value in my career. So a lot of people forget that. Just think about all those simple things which can make you more professional in your career and also in your private life.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I guess final thing really is how can somebody follow up with you if they've got a question, they're inspired by what you said? Do they reach out to you on LinkedIn? Have you got a website? Anybody? Yeah, feel free.
Yep, reach out to me on LinkedIn. And also I'm around the Hack the Box Discord, the Offensive Security Discord, and lots of other Discords. So you can reach out to me there too.
I have a handy dandy little QR code you can scan there, but if not, you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, same for me. So I try to post every day about different cybersecurity topics. I grow a lot of network in the past year. So find me on LinkedIn, read some of my posts, and if you have any questions, always open to go into discussions with you guys.
Brilliant. So what I'm hearing is LinkedIn, Chris's QR code, and definitely on the Hack the Box Discord, which is absolutely the place to be. Thank you so much to our three really wonderful panelists. So much advice being actionable, super interesting, and really valuable. So personally, I'd like to thank you all three from the bottom of my heart. And I would also like to ask you to be watching to sign up for the business CTF. It'll be in your email, it'll be on the website, it'll be everywhere. So go sign up for that. It's going to be awesome, and hopefully see you at the next panel. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for watching. See you soon.
Thanks.